Every video game needs an antagonistic force. Whether it's a comically straightforward bad guy, a well-written mastermind with an understandable motive, or in some cases, even you, the player. You may face tons of enemies and bosses throughout the entire game, but the finale needs to have someone special, so it feels rewarding putting in the effort to get there. The fascinating thing about creating a great villain is that there's no set rule for it. A villain who lacks a strong narrative, yet is incredibly captivating to watch and battle, can hold the same level of iconic status as someone who's been the subject of 2 separate prequel novels. It's all about the design, presentation, and how well the developers implement all of it into the game. Normally, we only talk about the heroes, so today we're going to celebrate the top 10 video game villains of all time. Whether you like them or hate them, you cannot deny their importance to the experience. Now, let's jump onto the list. Starting off our countdown at number 10 is Sephiroth. Sephiroth is undoubtedly one of the most menacing and iconic villains in video games. Whether you've played Final Fantasy VII or not, it's impossible to not be familiar with him just because of how insanely popular he is. His design is very cool to look at, as he offers an interesting visual contrast to the protagonists of the game. He does not immediately strike you as a bad guy, but the moment you look into his eyes or hear him speak, you can tell he has a cold heart. While he isn't a very philosophically developed character, so to speak, his motives are still very interesting since he didn't start off as a villain in his story. It's his existential crisis and hunger for power that leads him to becoming the monster that we all know. And that's exactly what makes him so intriguing. In context of the game, Sephiroth's personal connection to Cloud Strife adds further emotional depth to his antagonism, so it's no surprise that people who played the games remember him so fondly. With the remake trilogy still far from completion, it's wonderful to experience Sephiroth's journey all over again. Sliding into the number 9 spot is Andrew Ryan. Andrew Ryan is the perfect example of how you can write about a complex antagonist without necessarily making him sympathetic. His enigmatic personality adds life to the otherwise ruined city of Rapture, and his monologues add much needed context to everything around you too. His philosophical beliefs keep the player invested in the world around them, regardless of whether they agree with him or not. The best part is perhaps the ambiguity of his morals, as he's neither an outright evil villain and nor someone who you would mistake for a good guy. And when you reach the end of the story and the whole "would you kindly" twist appears, the relevance of Andrew to the protagonist's story elevates to a whole different level. It shows you that not every villain needs to have giant fists or massive muscles to show their power, as a complex and brilliant mind can be just as dangerous. Coming in at number 8 is GLaDOS. Portal is a game that can feel very isolated, since you spend most of your time in a facility with no other person solving puzzles here and there. The only communication that you have is with the weird robots in the game, who are part of the facility and occasionally guide you through. And surprisingly, they have such developed personalities that you almost forget that they're just silly robots and not real people. GLaDOS is the one that stands out the most out of every character in the game, and she just so happens to be the antagonist too. Her calm and witty demeanor tricks you at first, as you expect her to be friendly, but as her humor begins to show eeriness, and her logic starts to become questionable, you realize that things are not what they seem. The more you learn about her complex backstory, the more things make sense. By the end of this game, she is an unsettling presence that makes you doubt your ability to escape, and her eccentric nature has made her one of the most iconic villains in gaming. At number 7, we have Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head is nothing short of a quintessential horror icon, who remains just as popular today in pop culture as he was when first introduced in 2001. His haunting appearance, ambiguous motivations, and menacing actions gives the player a sense of eeriness and panic that makes them want to run for their lives. What makes the character even more interesting is the connection he has with the protagonist, as the monstrosity is essentially a symbol of James's inner guilt. His psychological struggle is manifested in the form of the Pyramid Head, and that's also why we have that one disturbingly sexual scene that no one likes talking about too. Over the years, people haven't associated the Pyramid Head as much with James as they used to, and now they just remember him as this invulnerable force that strikes fear in their hearts. Even today, he can be seen in games like Dead by Daylight, since it is impossible to have a project about horror icons and not have him in it. Don't be disillusioned by our number 6 pick. Handsome Jack is one of the most charismatic and manipulative villains that you'll find in a video game, which makes him stand out immediately in the world of Borderlands. even though his looks are pretty creepy and his motives are always questionable. His magnetic personality forces the player to be intrigued by his presence. On top of all that, he's funny too, which isn't surprising since he's from Borderlands after all, and that series hardly ever takes itself seriously. But the fact the writers managed to make Jack feel charming, funny, and threatening at the same time is certainly remarkable. His ruthless ambition eventually comes into conflict with the protagonists, and then you see his worst side start to come out, which is what makes him such a great antagonistic force. Halfway through our countdown at number 5 is Diablo, yes, from Diablo. Diablo is such a menacing and influential being the entire series is named after him, and he remains relevant throughout the first 3 games. Usually, if an antagonist keeps coming back for every sequel, people start getting bored. But such wasn't the case with Diablo, because he's such a complex and entertaining villain to witness. Not only did they give him great lore, but the interactions that you have with him in the games and the boss fights cement him as a great villain with a magnificent presence. His visual design is always great too, and the developers have a good excuse to make changes since his host changed throughout the various games, which are meant to keep him fresh and strong despite how old he is. The best part about this unstoppable force from hell is that he still hasn't been killed off, and can return any time in the future, which makes him even scarier, as he isn't a villain that you can permanently stop. In number 4 is Dutch van der Linde. If anyone ever talks about how video game characters can't match the writing and development of a TV show, show them Dutch van der Linde. While the first game sort of displays him as this one-note antagonistic character, you get to see what drove him into being this insane outlaw in Red Dead Redemption 2. He starts off as a charming, ambitious, and enthusiastic leader that everyone looks up to, and he's almost a father figure for many members of his gang. Unlike some of the other outlaws who are simple criminals, he is a complex character who strongly believes that he's right, and constantly tries to fix the damage of all his poor decisions. Like Arthur himself, the player is keen on believing his philosophy too if they haven't played the first game yet. But unfortunately, as time goes on, you begin to see cracks in his sanity, and the more he screws up, the worse it gets since his grand vision begins to crumble into pieces. But unlike some other characters, he doesn't adjust to his new circumstances, and instead becomes the unpredictable yet charismatic villain that we all know. Let us know in the comments if you think Dutch should have been higher or lower on this list. Breaking into this top 3, Ganondorf. Ganondorf is pure evil, and sometimes that's for the best, as not every villain needs to have a complex story behind why they are the way they are. He is a formidable foe that's nearly invulnerable, and Link tends to require a powerful mythical object to defeat him every time, which means that even Link cannot defeat Ganondorf on his own without massive upgrades. Even though he's generally a great warrior, Ganondorf is a master at strategy and wishes to rule the world with an iron fist. And he doesn't shy away from any kind of destruction or manipulation to get what he wants. Even though the games take place in different timelines, he is often still manipulating the events of the games, or just directly present as a powerful antagonist. And the different forms he's taken on in different games are genuinely menacing, even for a non-horror game. His aura exudes evil, strength, and ruthlessness, which is exactly why he's such an iconic villain. Just shy of this top spot at number 2 is Voss Montenegro. These days, Ubisoft games are known for their complex characters and great writing, but there was a time when things were different. Voss from Far Cry 3 is easily one of the most iconic antagonists in gaming, thanks to his eccentric and unpredictable nature, as well as the clear psychological damage he suffers from, which makes him a violent person. What made him so popular once everyone saw him is that even though he's crazy, his personality is very entertaining to watch, and the things that he says almost make sense at times, such as the iconic definition of insanity line. The enmity the protagonist and Voss share fuels the excitement for the game, and it's very satisfying to get your revenge when the time for it comes. This character was so well received by both those who played the game and those who only saw clips of him that it essentially launched a career for the actor who played the role, Michael Mondo. And since then, he has been in a lot of stuff, which includes the amazing Better Call Saul TV show. But the best villain of all time, in our eyes, is the one and only Revolver Ocelot. The Metal Gear franchise is filled with interesting villains. We have villains who are pure evil, villains who are sympathetic, villains who you don't agree with but are still sympathetic, and then a character like Big Boss is someone you might even agree with all the way to the end, even though he's straight up a villain in some of these games. but if we must pick a favorite, it'll have to be Revolver Ocelot. Due to the sheer complexity of his character and the absurdity of his motivations throughout the series. He starts off as a somewhat eccentric but fun character to witness, and as we go through more of the canon, he turns into this great ally to the big boss that you just can't hate. I mean, come on, he's a guy called Revolver Ocelot, and he knows how to do cool tricks with his guns. But things are hardly ever what they seem to be with him, as he unpredictably changes sides all the time. And sometimes, he's a part of all the sides at once, being a triple agent who's playing every side for his own personal vendetta. By the end of this franchise, we finally see him pull around 5 different twists that finally make sense of his actions in the last 30 or more years. Although, since he's written by Kojima, it will still make you scratch your head. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below if you feel that I missed out on a great villain that should have been in this video. I do love many more villains in gaming. It's just that you must be picky when you can only name 10. But regardless, these characters deserve the spotlight that they received today. If you'd like to see similar videos from me, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit the bell icon for instant notifications.